The cold, silent void of space stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of Ryland's small cargo ship. Stars twinkled faintly like distant promises, and nebula clouds shimmered in shades of purple and blue. Ryland sat hunched over his control panel, the hum of engines vibrating under his hands. His eyes, sharp from years of scavenging, scanned the star charts. Somewhere out here, in the neglected corners of the Andromeda sector, treasures awaited: abandoned ships, broken drones, or rare alien parts that could fetch a good price back in human colonies. He was a human mechanic, a tinkerer by nature, and a wanderer by choice. Space was dangerous, especially the outer rim. Pirates, rogue AI drones, and alien patrols made survival a game of wit and speed. But Ryland had always trusted in human ingenuity. A clever mind, quick hands, and a little courage. That was all a person really needed. Ryland's attention was drawn to a flicker on his sensors. At first, it looked like debris, a floating ruin of metal in the darkness. But as he zoomed in, the outline became clear. It was a cargo ship, enormous but silent, drifting without power. Its hull was scarred and worn, the paint scratched off in long streaks. Some sections were missing entirely, revealing glowing conduits inside. "Lucky day," Ryland muttered, adjusting his gloves. He suited up, checked his toolkit, and activated the docking clamps. His ship nudged close to the derelict vessel, and the magnets clicked into place. A hiss of decompression filled the cabin as he opened the airlock. Inside, the cargo ship smelled of stale metal and empty corridors. Dust floated in the weak light, and panels hung loosely from the walls. Ryland's boots echoed with each step as he moved carefully, scanning for structural damage. This ship had been abandoned for decades, maybe longer. Whoever owned it had left in a hurry. That's when he saw it. A faint glow from a side room caught his eye. It was subtle, almost like bioluminescence. Curious, Ryland approached, ducking under a collapsed beam. The glow grew brighter, pulsating softly. And then he saw the pod. It was small, rounded, and transparent on one side. Inside lay a creature unlike anything Ryland had ever seen. His eyes widened. It was a baby dragon, pure white, with scales that shimmered faintly even in the dim light. Its wings were tiny, folded carefully against its body. Its eyes, pale pink with silver flecks, blinked slowly as if studying him. But that wasn't the strangest part. Millions of tiny barnacle-like growths covered its skin, each one glowing softly. They clung to the dragon like a living armor. Ryland leaned closer, his breath catching. The barnacles seemed almost alive. They twitched faintly, reacting to his presence. He knelt beside the pod, scanning the dragon with a portable device. "What are you?" he whispered. The readings made him blink. The energy signature was immense for such a small creature. Even with the barnacles interfering, the dragon's body emitted waves of strange alien energy. Whoever or whatever had abandoned it had not done so lightly. Ryland's first instinct was caution. Alien technology, especially unknown life forms, was dangerous. But the dragon's gaze was curious, trusting even. Something in that tiny, fragile face told him it wasn't a threat, at least not yet. He activated the pod's release mechanism. The glass hissed and retracted, and the dragon blinked at him. It let out a small, musical chirp that resonated softly in the metal corridor. The sound was comforting, almost like a lullaby. Ryland extended a hand. Tentatively, the dragon leaned forward, nudging him gently with its snout. "Well, little one," Ryland said, a grin spreading across his face. "Looks like you've just been adopted." Carrying the pod back to his ship was tricky. The dragon was light, but its barnacles made it oddly cumbersome. Ryland had to work slowly, avoiding any sudden jolts. His ship's airlock welcomed them, and once inside, he set the pod down on a reinforced table. The dragon chirped again, fluttering its tiny wings. The barnacles shimmered brighter, as if reacting to the familiar environment of a living ship. Ryland sat opposite it, his mind racing. "This is going to be interesting," he said, But first, we need to figure out what's on you. Over the next few hours, Rylan examined the barnacles. He tried brushes, solvents, even low-powered tools, but nothing seemed to remove them. They were not ordinary growths. They were some kind of alien biotech implants, fused into the dragon's skin. Attempting to remove them roughly would harm the creature. The dragon watched him, tilting its head, blinking slowly. It seemed to understand that Rylan was trying to help. When he hesitated, it chirped encouragingly. The sound had a strange effect. Rylan felt a surge of confidence, as if the dragon's presence was unlocking a creativity within him. By the time the first day in space ended, Rylan had learned a few things. The dragon could emit energy waves, faint but detectable. It could respond emotionally, showing curiosity, trust, and even impatience. The barnacles were not just parasitic, they seemed to amplify or suppress the dragon's energy. Rylan realized that this little creature was not just a survivor. It was something extraordinary, and someone, somewhere, would want it back. Night fell, or what passed for night aboard a human ship in the void of space. Rylan looked out at the stars, the dragon curled on a blanket near the engine bay. Its scales glowed softly, illuminating the room in pale white light. He felt a surge of determination. "No one's taking you from me," he whispered. "Not while I can fix this ship, not while I'm alive." The dragon stirred, letting out a soft musical chirp. Rylan laughed. It was like a promise, a tiny voice saying they would face the future together. He had no idea what dangers awaited them, but he knew one thing for certain. Humans didn't give up easily, and neither would this dragon, not now that it had found a friend. Rylan spent the next few days fortifying his ship. He scavenged parts from the derelict cargo vessel, reinforced the hull, and improved his sensors. Every modification was done with care, and every night he spent hours studying the dragon. He discovered patterns in its energy surges, noting that the barnacles seemed to react when it was curious or excited. One evening, as Rylan adjusted a small energy converter, the dragon suddenly emitted a brighter pulse. Lights flickered, tools vibrated, and the ship's sensors went haywire for a moment. Rylan stared in awe. The creature had just interacted with his machinery, intentionally or not. "You're stronger than you look," he said, scratching his chin. "And I think we're going to be a good team." The dragon chirped in agreement. Rylan knew that the real challenge was ahead. Out in the stars, no one was safe for long. Pirates, alien hunters, and worse might appear at any time. But for now, in the quiet of space, the mechanic and the dragon had found something rare: trust, companionship, and a shared purpose. As the ship drifted silently toward uncharted sectors, Rylan felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. The dragon twitched its wings, glowing faintly, as if sensing the adventure to come. And in that moment, Rylan understood something that would carry him through every danger ahead. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries weren't parts or treasure. They were friends who defied expectation. The stars outside twinkled, vast and mysterious. And inside Rylan's small ship, a human mechanic and an abandoned albino baby dragon prepared to face whatever the galaxy would throw at them. Together, days passed quietly aboard Rylan's small ship, drifting further into uncharted space. The albino baby dragon had grown more comfortable, curling on the soft blankets near the engine bay, its scales glowing faintly in the dim lights. Rylan had taken to calling it Luma, for the soft light that shimmered from its body. Cleaning the barnacles proved harder than he had imagined. The tiny growths were not just attached, they were fused, almost part of the dragon's skin. Every attempt to remove them caused Luma to shiver or twitch, sending tiny pulses of energy across the ship. But Rylan was determined. He had faced worse machinery than this, and if anyone could help this little dragon, it was him. Rylan set up a workspace in the cargo hold, lights focused on Luma as he adjusted his tools. He had crafted special instruments, precision cutters, soft energy emitters, and a small scanner that could map the barnacle's energy patterns. Each night, he worked slowly, cautiously, learning how the alien implants reacted. "Easy, little one," he whispered one evening. "I won't hurt you. I promise." Luma chirped softly, blinking its silver-flecked eyes. It moved closer to Rylan, nudging his hand with its tiny snout. That small gesture filled him with determination. The dragon trusted him. Humans had a strange way of connecting with creatures. Rylan knew that well. But this bond felt different. It was immediate, strong, and full of unspoken understanding. After hours of careful work, Rylan managed to remove a small cluster of barnacles. They fell to the table, wriggling faintly as if alive. Luma shivered, then emitted a soft pulse of energy. Lights flickered across the hold, screens brightened, and a faint hum filled the air. Rylan's jaw dropped. That's incredible, he breathed. You just reacted to being free. The dragon chirped again, a sound that vibrated softly against Rylan's chest. He realized that the barnacles were more than physical attachments. They had been suppressing Luma's natural abilities. With each cluster removed, the dragon seemed stronger, more aware of its surroundings, more alive. Rylan worked carefully for days. He cleaned, scanned, and studied, observing patterns. The barnacles seemed to react to curiosity and emotion. When Luma was excited or curious, the barnacles glowed brighter. When frightened or tired, they dimmed. One evening, Rylan noticed something extraordinary. He was adjusting a small engine coil, and Luma was watching intently. Its glowing barnacles pulsed in rhythm with the energy flowing through the machinery. Suddenly, a faint beam of light shot from the dragon's snout, perfectly aligning with the coil. Sparks jumped, and the machine hummed back to life. Rylan froze, staring at Luma. You just fixed that?" he whispered. "Do you understand what's broken?" Luma chirped again, tilting its head. Then, tiny wings fluttered, and another pulse of energy shot from its claws, this time causing a small mechanical arm to move with precision. Rylan's heart raced. The dragon was intelligent, yes, but it could interact with technology in ways humans couldn't predict. This realization thrilled Rylan. He had been tinkering with machines his whole life, solving problems with logic and skill. But Luma brought something new, a natural connection to energy, a living interface that responded to thought and feeling. Together, they could achieve more than either could alone. But the excitement was not without risk. The energy pulses were unpredictable. Once, a stronger pulse overloaded the ship's lights, causing a small fire in the engine bay. Rylan jumped, grabbing the extinguisher while Luma chirped in alarm. The dragon's eyes shimmered with guilt, though it seemed unaware of the danger it had caused. "Don't worry," Rylan said, patting Luma's head. "We'll learn together. Just calm down a little, okay?" Despite the occasional chaos, their bond deepened. Luma followed Rylan everywhere, perching on tool racks, nudging parts into place, and chirping encouragement. Rylan began talking to it, explaining repairs, asking questions, joking even. And though Luma couldn't speak in human language, its responses, chirps, pulses of light, subtle movements, were clear and unmistakable. One morning, while charting a new route, Rylan noticed something on his sensors. A faint pulsing signal was approaching. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but his instincts screamed at him. "Someone's coming," he muttered. Luma stirred, wings twitching nervously. The dragon's barnacles glowed brighter, reacting to the approaching energy. Rylan quickly scanned the reading. Not pirates, not exactly, but definitely alien. And they're looking for something. Probably you, Luma. The realization hit him hard. This tiny, abandoned dragon, his companion, his friend, was not just special. Someone, somewhere, wanted it back. And judging by the strength of the signal, they were serious. Rylan had faced danger before, scavengers and rogue drones in the sector, but never anything like this. He needed a plan. He needed to protect Luma. He quickly set up defensive measures around the ship. Energy shields, automated traps, and rerouted power to critical systems. He also began teaching Luma to control its energy in small bursts. It was tricky. The dragon was excitable and energy pulses could backfire, but over time, Luma learned. Tiny sparks from its snout could cut through debris or weld metal. Small pulses from its wings could push objects with precision. Rylan marveled at each success, realizing they were forming a team that combined human engineering with draconic energy. As the alien signal grew closer, Rylan knew confrontation was inevitable. The aliens had abandoned Luma once, but they had not forgotten. And now, Rylan would have to defend his companion, using every trick, every tool, and every bit of ingenuity he possessed. That night, as the ship drifted through a colorful nebula, Rylan sat beside Luma. The dragon curled around his arm, barnacles glowing softly, wings twitching. He scratched behind its ears, smiling. "You're going to be okay," he said. "We'll face them together, and no one's taking you without a fight." Luma chirped, nuzzling him gently, and for a moment, the vast emptiness of space seemed less frightening. The next morning, the first threat appeared. A small scouting vessel materialized on the sensors, cloaked until it was dangerously close. Rylan quickly activated his defenses. Energy beams flashed, warning lights blinked, and Luma's barnacles pulsed in synchronization with the ship's shields. Rylan realized that with Luma's help, they could do more than defend. They could turn the ship itself into a living weapon. He carefully guided the dragon's energy, amplifying it through the ship's systems. Beams of light, focused and controlled, shot from energy conduits, surprising the alien scouts. The attackers were forced to retreat, unable to handle the combination of human tactics and draconic power. Rylan's grin was wide and confident. "See? Nothing we can't handle together." The day passed and the threat disappeared, but Rylan knew this was only the beginning. Whoever had abandoned Luma would not stop searching. And as the dragon curled beside him that night, glowing softly, he made a silent promise. He would protect this creature at all costs, teach it to master its abilities, and together they would survive the dangers of the galaxy. But the real question lingered in the back of Rylan's mind. What was Luma really capable of once the barnacles were fully removed? He didn't have an answer yet. But one thing was certain. The adventure had only just begun. And somewhere in the distant stars, alien eyes watched, calculating their next move. The silence of space had a way of hiding dangers, and Rylan knew that better than anyone. Even after the small alien scout ship had fled, he could feel the tension in the air, a subtle hum through the ship's hull. Luma, his albino dragon companion, curled near the engine bay, barnacles pulsing softly in the quiet. But Rylan could sense that something was coming. Something bigger, stronger, and far more dangerous than the small scouting vessel. He had spent days studying Luma's energy pulses, learning to coordinate them with his ship's systems. Each time the dragon reacted, he adapted. Together, they had become a team. But now, he realized that theory would be tested against real firepower and against enemies who were patient, calculating, and relentless. "Luma," Rylan whispered as he adjusted the navigation console. "I think they're coming. And this time, it won't be just a small scout." The dragon's eyes shimmered, wings twitching nervously. Luma chirped softly, a low melodic sound that seemed almost like reassurance. Despite the fear and uncertainty, Rylan felt a surge of courage. Humans had faced impossible odds countless times, and they had always found a way. There was no reason this time would be different. Hours later, the alien hunters appeared. Their ships were sleek and intimidating, shaped in sharp curves and dark metal that absorbed light. They moved with precision, scanning the surrounding space for Luma's energy signature. Rylan had no doubt they knew exactly what they were after. And they were not interested in negotiation. Rylan quickly assessed the situation. His ship was small, agile, and reinforced, but against this many opponents it would not survive a direct confrontation. He would need strategy, cleverness, and improvisation. Fortunately, human mechanics excelled at those things. "All right, Luma," he said, strapping himself into the control seat. "Time to show them what humans can do. And maybe a little dragon magic too." The first wave of attackers approached, weapons primed. Rylan activated the ship's shields and rerouted power to the thrusters. Luma chirped sharply, wings fluttering as it released a controlled pulse of energy through the hull. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the ship's shields glowed brighter than ever. The alien vessels faltered, unprepared for this combination of human engineering and draconic power. Rylan grinned. See? Told you we could handle them? But the hunters were skilled. They regrouped, flanking Rylan's ship, coordinating attacks with precision. Missiles streaked across space, energy beams sliced the void, and the small cargo ship rocked under the impact. Luma's barnacles glowed fiercely, and the dragon let out a shrill roar. Energy waves pulsed outward, deflecting missiles and throwing enemy ships off balance. Rylan seized the moment. Using the dragon's energy as a conduit, he directed it into the ship's power systems. Thrusters glowed, weapons charged, and automated defense drones sprang to life. Tiny lasers fired from the hull, precise and rapid, forcing the alien hunters to retreat for a moment. But they would not give up. Rylan knew this. Whoever had abandoned Luma had left no room for mercy. These aliens had a purpose, one that Rylan could not yet understand, but it likely involved taking the dragon at any cost. "Hold on, little one," Rylan said. "We're not done yet." Luma chirped, wings flaring, energy crackling around its tiny claws. The barnacles, previously dull in parts, now glowed fiercely, reacting to the adrenaline and determination of the moment. Rylan realized something important. Luma's powers were linked to emotion. Confidence, courage, and determination made the dragon stronger. Fear or hesitation could weaken it. That gave him an idea. If he could keep the dragon calm but focused, they could turn the tide of the battle. He spoke softly, narrating their next moves as if giving instructions to a crew. Luma chirped, responded, and for a moment Rylan felt a sense of unity that went beyond words. They darted through asteroid fields, weaving between massive rocks, drawing the alien hunters into traps. Luma's energy pulses were timed perfectly with Rylan's maneuvers, creating sparks that disoriented sensors and temporarily blinded enemy targeting systems. One alien ship collided with an asteroid and was destroyed instantly. Another had to pull back, giving Rylan a precious advantage. But the real challenge was the alien mothership, a massive vessel lurking behind the skirmish. Its hull shimmered with unknown materials, energy beams capable of slicing through metal, and drones that could target multiple points at once. Rylan studied its movements carefully. A direct confrontation would be suicide. He needed strategy. He needed ingenuity. "Luma," he said, pointing at a narrow asteroid passage. "We'll lead them there. You're going to make it interesting." The dragon chirped, understanding his plan instinctively. As they flew through the narrow corridor, Luma released controlled pulses of energy. The pulses interacted with Rylan's improvised devices, creating fields of electromagnetic interference. The alien drones were thrown off, and the mothership struggled to adjust its targeting systems. Rylan laughed, adrenaline pumping. "I love it when a plan comes together." The mothership wasn't defeated yet. It released smaller attack ships, swarming toward them in coordinated waves. Rylan had anticipated this. Using the dragon's energy, he rigged small gravity distorters along the passage. The alien ships were caught in the distortions, spun out of control, or forced to crash into asteroids. Luma chirped excitedly, wings flaring, and emitted a powerful energy wave that disabled the last of the drones. For a moment, space was quiet again. The mothership retreated, realizing this small human ship and its dragon companion were more trouble than anticipated. Rylan breathed heavily, wiping sweat from his brow. Luma curled near him, chest rising and falling as it calmed down. The barnacles' glow dimmed, returning to a soft, comforting light. "That was close," Rylan said, scratching the dragon behind its ears. "Too close. But we did it. Together." As they floated in the quiet aftermath, Rylan began to piece together the bigger picture. Whoever had abandoned Luma had left the dragon for a reason. The barnacles were not just implants, they were control mechanisms designed to suppress the dragon's powers. The alien hunters clearly wanted it back, likely for use in experiments, weaponization, or worse. Ryland's mind raced. He couldn't let that happen. He would have to teach Luma to master its powers, free it completely from the Barnacles, and be ready for whatever came next. It was a daunting task, but humans were clever, and together, they had already proven they could outsmart enemies far stronger than themselves. Over the next few days, Ryland worked with Luma tirelessly. He devised new ways to communicate through energy patterns, teaching the dragon to focus and control its abilities. Small pulses could now power tools, move objects, or even deflect minor attacks. Luma was learning quickly, fueled by curiosity, trust, and the bond it shared with Ryland. During this time, Ryland reflected on the nature of humans and dragons alike. Humans survived because they adapted, learned, and persevered. Luma survived because it was clever, instinctive, and adaptable. Together, they represented a unique combination: human intelligence and creativity, paired with alien power and instinct. One evening, Ryland was repairing a damaged thruster while Luma watched, glowing softly. The dragon chirped and stretched its wings, releasing a gentle pulse of energy that repaired a broken conduit instantly. Ryland's eyes widened. "You're amazing," he said. "Faster than I imagined. We're going to be unstoppable if we keep working together." Luma chirped again, tilting its head as if agreeing. In that quiet moment, surrounded by stars, Ryland felt hope. He knew that the galaxy was dangerous, that alien hunters would return, stronger and more determined. But he also knew that human ingenuity, combined with loyalty and courage, could overcome almost anything. As they drifted near the edge of a nebula, a new challenge loomed. The alien mothership had not given up. Its sensors were scanning the sector, and Ryland detected multiple signals converging toward them. The next confrontation would be inevitable. But for the first time, Ryland didn't feel fear. He felt readiness. "Luma," he said, resting a hand on the dragon's glowing head, "we've faced the first wave, and we've survived. Next time, we're going to show them exactly who they're dealing with." The dragon chirped, wings flaring slightly, glowing brighter than ever. It was a signal, a promise of power, intelligence, and courage combined. Together, human and dragon were more than survivors. They were a force capable of defying expectations, a living example of what could happen when determination, ingenuity, and trust were united. And somewhere across the galaxy, the alien hunters prepared for their next attack, unaware that they had already underestimated the bond between a human mechanic and an albino baby dragon. The stars stretched endlessly around Ryland's ship as he drifted through the nebula. Every flicker of light seemed alive, reflecting the tension and excitement aboard his small vessel. Luma, the albino dragon, rested near the engine bay, wings gently twitching, barnacles glowing softly. The bond between human and dragon had grown deeper than either had expected. Ryland's mind was focused. He had studied the barnacles, noting their patterns, their energy reactions, and their strange influence on Luma's powers. The final step was clear. He needed to remove them completely, freeing the dragon entirely. But the risk was enormous. One wrong move, and he could harm the dragon, or worse, alert the alien hunters. "I promise, Luma," he whispered, tightening his gloves and setting up the instruments. "This is the last step. After this, freedom." Luma blinked slowly, almost as if understanding. It let out a soft chirp and leaned closer, trusting him completely. Ryland smiled. Humans were resilient, clever, and adaptable, but trust and courage could forge bonds stronger than steel. And in this moment, human ingenuity and draconic instinct were about to combine in ways neither had experienced before. Using a combination of precise energy tools, soft mechanical cutters, and his knowledge of alien technology, Ryland began the delicate process. Each barnacle pulsed and twitched, but with careful timing and patience, he managed to remove them without harming Luma. The dragon's body shimmered more brightly with every cluster that fell away. As the last barnacle detached, a radiant wave of energy filled the ship. Luma's scales glowed brilliantly, wings unfurling fully for the first time. The tiny dragon stretched, letting out a melodious roar that resonated through the hull, sending ripples of energy across the ship. Ryland stumbled back in awe, shielding his eyes from the dazzling display. "You're incredible," he whispered, almost breathless. "I knew you had power. But this—" Luma chirped in delight, flapping its wings, releasing controlled pulses that danced through the ship's systems. It seemed stronger, faster, and more aware. Rylan realized that the Barnacles had been suppressing not just the dragon's abilities, but its very sense of self. Now, Luma was whole, free, and ready. But the galaxy never stayed quiet for long. The alien hunters had tracked the energy spike. Their ships appeared suddenly on the sensors, faster and more numerous than before. This time, they were not merely interested, they were prepared for war. Ryland's heart pounded, but he didn't panic. Human ingenuity had carried them this far, and now, with Luma fully empowered, they had a chance to fight back like never before. "Luma," he said firmly. "Time to show them exactly who we are." The dragon chirped and flared its wings. A pulse of energy shot from its body, interacting with the ship's systems. Shields strengthened, engines roared, and automated drones sprang to life. Ryland guided the pulses with precision, coordinating each movement to maximize the effect. Together, Human and Dragon became a single entity, a ship powered by ingenuity and instinct. The alien ships fired, energy beams slicing through the void, but Luma anticipated their movements. Pulses of energy deflected attacks, overloaded weapons, and disrupted targeting systems. Ryland maneuvered the ship with skill, weaving through asteroid fields and debris, using every trick he had learned over the past weeks. One by one, the alien ships faltered. Luma released waves of controlled energy, sending smaller vessels spinning into the nebula, colliding with asteroids or each other. The mothership, the largest vessel, unleashed its full power, attempting to crush them with massive beams, but Ryland had prepared. Using Luma's energy, he created a reflective field that redirected the beams, turning the hunters' strength against them. "You underestimated us," Ryland shouted, his voice filled with determination. "Never underestimate humans or dragons," Luma roared, a bright musical sound that shook the hull and lit up the surrounding nebula. The dragon's full power was unleashed, a combination of energy manipulation, speed, and instinctive intelligence. It moved with precision, striking at the mothership's weak points, disabling drones, and creating openings for Ryland to exploit. The alien hunters, realizing they could not win through brute force, attempted to retreat. But Ryland had anticipated this. Using energy conduits and Luma's abilities, he created barriers that blocked their escape routes, forcing the mothership into a vulnerable position. With one final coordinated strike, a pulse from Luma channeled through the ship's weapons, the alien vessel was incapacitated, floating helplessly in space. Silence returned. The nebula glowed softly around Ryland's ship. He looked at Luma, who perched proudly, wings outstretched, glowing brilliantly. The dragon had regained its full potential, and together they had defeated an enemy far more powerful than themselves. Ryland exhaled deeply, a mixture of relief and pride filling him. "We did it. We really did it," Luma chirped, nuzzling his shoulder. And for the first time, Ryland allowed himself to imagine the possibilities. They could travel freely, explore uncharted sectors, and perhaps even help other creatures abandoned or endangered in the galaxy. Their bond was strong, and their teamwork had proven that humans and dragons together could overcome incredible odds. Over the next few days, Ryland worked to repair the ship fully, integrating Luma's energy abilities into the system safely. They flew through vibrant nebula clouds, explored asteroid belts, and charted new star systems. Luma's powers were no longer a threat. They were a tool, a partner, a friend. During this time, Ryland reflected on everything that had happened. Humans were often underestimated. Small, clever, and determined, they could adapt to any situation. And Luma had shown him something incredible. Power alone was not enough. Intelligence, trust, courage, and creativity were what truly made a difference. One evening, drifting near a gas giant, Rylan looked out at the stars. "We've come a long way," he said softly. Luma chirped, tail curling around his arm, wings glowing faintly. "But this is just the beginning." Rylan smiled. He knew that the galaxy was vast, full of dangers, mysteries, and adventures. But with Luma by his side, he felt ready for anything. They had proven that even the smallest, most abandoned creatures could hold incredible power, and that humans, with ingenuity and courage, could turn the impossible into reality. Somewhere in the distant stars, remnants of the alien hunters retreated, defeated, but not entirely gone. They would remember the human and the dragon who had bested them. But for Rylan, that was no longer his concern. The future belonged to those willing to fight for it, to those who refused to give up, and to those who could forge bonds strong enough to change the course of the galaxy. Rylan set a new course, deeper into unexplored space. Luma perched near the controls, eyes shimmering with excitement and curiosity. Together they moved forward, a human mechanic and an albino dragon, leaving a legacy of hope, courage, and ingenuity. And somewhere, far across the stars, other abandoned creatures might be waiting, lost and alone. Rylan knew that wherever they were, help could arrive. Not through brute force, but through clever minds, loyal hearts, and the extraordinary bond between humans and dragons. The ship glided through the nebula, its lights reflecting off the swirling gas clouds. Rylan looked at Luma and chuckled softly. "Ready for our next adventure?" Luma chirped loudly, wings flaring, glowing brilliantly in agreement. Together, they were unstoppable, a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and the unbreakable bond that could overcome even the greatest challenges in the galaxy. And so, they disappeared into the stars, leaving behind the echoes of a story that would inspire countless others. A story of trust, bravery, and the incredible potential of humans and their companions when they work together. The galaxy was wide, dangerous, and full of mysteries. But for Rylan and Luma, the adventure had only just begun.